So, hello my dear students, a very good afternoon to all of you. I hope you are able to see me properly and also hear me properly. If yes, then you know what is supposed to be done, right? So, please say yes, you are able to see me, you are able to hear me properly so that I can proceed further, right? Okay, great. Now, as you know, today is our second session, and what are we going to do first? We are going to revise whatever we have discussed yesterday, right? In the previous session, whatever we have discussed, we're quickly going to discuss that. We're quickly going to revise that. Okay, right. So, if you remember, which paper, which subject are we studying here or are supposed to study here? Paper number 2, section number A. So, paper 2A, business laws. Am I right? Correct. Having a weightage of how much? 60 marks. Having a weightage of 60 marks. Correct. For which attempt? Of course, May 2021 attempt and onwards. Correct. So, how do you think this will make an impact? Correct. If you're thinking about amendments, right? If you're thinking about amendments, of course, attempt matters. When we know that you're going to write examination in November 21, then you know what happens. November 21 means the amendments applicable for it will be more, correct? Because cutoff date is always 6 months. For May 2021, what is the cutoff date? The cutoff date is come on, yeah, 31st of October 2020. Whereas for November 21, the cutoff date will be what? 30th of April 2021. Am I right? Always 6 months preceding the examination, you will have the amendments covered in that examination, right? Okay. Then if I talk about the syllabus, then you know it's the new syllabus which we are going to cover, correct? The new syllabus we are going to cover. Then further, if I talk about what is business laws, then you know laws which are applicable to business or businesses is nothing but business laws. And when we are talking about why is it that we are studying this particular subject, business laws? So if you remember, I have told you that a chartered accountant would be assisting the business world. So when we know that he is going to assist the business world and business is operated under some framework, some legal framework, some law, then of course he also needs to know that framework, he also needs to know that particular rules and regulations. And that's where you could understand that you who will be becoming a chartered accountant very soon has to be well versed with this business laws as well, correct? Right. Then further, if you can recall the syllabus which I have discussed, correct? Syllabus, we said there are 5 laws in our syllabus. The Indian Contract Act, which is partially there, Sale of Goods Act, fully there. Then we've got Indian Partnership Act, fully there. LLP Act also is fully there in your syllabus. But when it comes to Companies Act, you do not have fully Companies Act in your syllabus. It's a huge act which is taken care at 3 stages. Foundation also you have, some fundamentals, some basics, and then CA Inter you'll be studying them again, right? And then finally at CA final level also you will be dealing with Companies Act. Am I right? Right. Apart from this, I've told you anyways, basics of law is indirectly covered whenever you're reading this subject called as business laws or any type of law. Basics of law definitely matters. So that's where we have started with basics of law, if you remember yesterday, right? Okay, weightage I'll not revise, we've discussed that. Paper pattern is fine. Then classes, approach, objective, if you remember. So our objective is just to memorize the subject, right? Yes or no? Of course no. Our idea is not just to memorize, but rather, right, conceptually understand things, understand the logic, understand the background of it, and then proceed, isn't it? Right, right, and then proceed in a sense, then memorize. Okay, so do you really want to understand the concept or also be able to apply them? You'll say, sir, yes, both understanding as well as application matters here, right? Okay, then 7 notebooks are required, isn't it? Of course no, it's only 2 notebooks which I have told you. One notebook for classroom, right, short notes, and the same notebook can be used for glossary as well. And second notebook I've told you for practice purpose and for writing the test you can use it, correct? Okay, fantastic. Then what about sophisticated language? How do you think you'll be writing answers in the examination? Of course, wherein you can say that you have incorporated sophisticated language. So how do you get that sophisticated language? So if you remember, I have given you some tips, correct? One is simple English, which is grammatically correct, and then maximum legal terms, and don't forget something called as euphemisms. And what is euphemisms? Using polite language, that is less harsh words. If these four things which I have told you, if you can include it, then of course the language becomes sophisticated, right? Okay. Then what about the textbook, reader? So if you remember, therein I have told you that I'll be providing you a material, right? Material or notes or study mat, whatever you want to call it as. Plus we said a compiler has to be referred, which will include some questions and answers from the past examination from the RTP, right? That again I'm going to provide. Apart from this, some resources of ICAI, correct? What is the full form of ICAI? Institute of Chartered Accountants of India. In short, we can also call it as CA Institute, right? So their resources, like in ICAI also gives a study material once you get registered with ICAI, right? And then, you know, sometimes even handouts might be issued by them. Then RTPs are there, also suggested answer released by them for every examination. So this additionally you can refer, right? Apart from this, any author book, if you have enough time and interested, then can be dealt with. This anyways I've talked about, right? The amendments part, 6 months is the cutoff date. Okay. Now, talking about what is the meaning of law. If you can recall, we said the meaning of law is nothing but rules and regulations for a particular relationship in a particular domain set by the competent authority, right? Set by the proper authority. So law means rules and regulations, no doubt, but just we are trying to, would you say, polish it further and maybe get a definition which looks presentable, right? So that's where we said rules and regulations for a relationship in a particular domain set by proper authority, correct? Set by the competent authority. Okay. Then we said what is the objective of any law? If you can recall, come on, you can recall? Okay, great. Socio-economic justice. So does it mean that Companies Act also have an objective of, has an objective that is socio-economic justice? Same way, do you think Indian Contract Act also have this type of objective, socio-economic justice? The answer is yes. Let it be any law. We said ultimately the objective is socio-economic justice. Like you and me, I have told you, have objective, and those are different objectives. But then ultimately, what do we aim at? Ultimately, what is our objective? Happiness, right? Be happy. Same way we said, every law will have a different objective. But ultimately, what is the objective? Ultimately, the objective of any law you talk about is socio-economic justice. Economic justice meaning something which is dealing with vitamin M, correct? Money. Yes, you're absolutely right. And then socio-justice. So that is justice in societal aspect. So if you have the right to live in this society, I also have the right to live in this society, correct? So in societal terms, I've taken one example. If you remember the traffic signal, the cop catches hold of, right? So simply speaking, if I have to say why this law was, right? So we said simply speaking, we can say that to remove the chaos, to remove the bottlenecks, bring in smoothness, right? That's where we have different types of laws. Okay. Then what is business laws? So we said if we know the definition of law, then we can make slight variation in that and come up with the definition of business laws. So what is it? Rules and regulations for a business relationship in a particular domain set by proper authority. So I've just changed one thing there. From relationship, I've changed it to what? Business relationship, isn't it? Okay. Acha, can you recall the examples for business relationship? Yes, sir. Seller and buyer, correct? Manufacturer and wholesaler, a doctor and patient, lawyer and a client. Like that, we said multiple business relationships exist. So laws which are pertaining to rules and regulations which are pertaining to these relationships in a particular domain by competent authority will be called as business laws. Now, if I say what is business laws for you, who are you? You're a CA aspirant. So for you, what is business laws? Correct? For a CA student, what do we mean by business laws? You would say, sir, again we'll keep this business laws as the basis to get the definition of business laws for CA aspirant. So we'll say rules and regulations for a business relationship in India. Correct? In India, set up by Parliament. Set up by whom? Parliament, right? I've told you, it's not government. Government proposes the law, but who makes the law for our country? It's the Parliament. Acha. Now suppose I say the law is only for a particular state, right? The law is for a particular state. Then who makes it? Can you answer? Come on, please type in your chat box, right? If at all is the state for which law is made, then who makes it? Come on. Who makes the law for a particular state? Like Maharashtra, okay, or for that matter, Telangana, Madhya Pradesh, any state you talk about. Come on, give me the answer. I'm waiting for you. Assembly, okay. High Court. Definitely not High Court. The person who has written High Court has to just, recall what did I say for the country? Parliament. So obviously it can't be High Court, sir. Okay, anyways, I'm glad that at least few people are giving the right answer. It's the State Assembly. I can say legislature, right? The Legislative Assembly and the Legislative Council. So it's legislature. Like we can't say Lok Sabha. Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha both. So that's where we say Parliament. Same way we'll say legislature instead of saying assembly. Okay. Yeah, good. I appreciate all of you, those who have given the answer. Even though answer might be wrong, it's okay. But just think, okay. Right. Then we have talked about the different types of laws, if you can recall. We said there are business laws, which of course is our subject, right? Paper 2A is business laws. Then we've got fiscal laws. Fiscal laws means what? Law dealing with exchequer. What do we mean by exchequer? Revenue of the government. And where does the revenue of the government comes from? Mainly taxes. So we said Income Tax Act is an example for, of course, fiscal laws. GST law is an example for, again, fiscal laws, right? It's not PHY, it's FISCAL, correct? Fiscal laws. Then we said there are some economic laws as well, civil laws as well, criminal laws as well, cyber laws, right? Environmental laws, like that. There are multiple types of laws. Now you might say, sir, you have not included labor law, you have not included corporate law. My dear friends, if you understand business when I write, don't you think the business word business covers this labor or maybe corporate or for that matter industrial laws? Yes. If we want, we can specifically write that separately as well. But then when I am writing business there, anyways that covered. And secondly, if you notice, I've written etc. So this means that this is an inclusive list. It's not an exhaustive list, correct? So there can be more types which I can include here. So till here we have discussed, right, yesterday, that is in our previous session. Okay, now before I proceed further, I just let me just talk about 2-3 things here. First thing, these are not demo classes. My dear friends, my dear students, please understand. We have started with the classes, we have started with the batch, and these are the first, a few classes which you are able to view it or attend it without getting yourself registered, right? So don't say that demo class and we are taking any random topic. No, like how we start the batch, same way we have started the batch and covering topics as we do it in our classes. So we are not picking up any random topic or just to impress you, I'm not taking this particular, basics of law. No, nothing of that sort. Okay, so keep in mind, we've started with the classes. Okay, no random topic. This is the sequence in which we'll take up the class. Secondly, I believe you're following the instructions which I have given it earlier as well. Okay, so you're sitting properly, right, in a position to write, write in the sense take down notes, right? So I hope you're doing that, sitting in a peaceful environment, sitting properly, able to note down things, correct? If you're not, please do that. Before I proceed further, please do that. Okay. And next thing, I believe that you have watched that video on welcome note. Yesterday also I've reminded you a couple of times. Again, I'm reminding you, please watch. Okay, please do watch them, so that small things which I have to repeat again, probably I will not be required to repeat if you watch that particular video, correct? And then lastly, if you have any doubt, right, if you have any doubt, please do post your doubt, so that I can have a look into it and answer your query. Remember, this is a live session, so obviously in the live session there should be some benefit of clearing the doubt instantly. But then it may happen that you type and I answer your doubt after a while. That is possible, because if I'm explaining something and you type in your doubt, I cannot see immediately and answer that. That will disturb the flow as well. So at periodically, you can say, or at regular intervals, I will be looking onto the screen which is available in front of me here on the right side, and try to take up those doubts as well, right? Okay. Yeah, so yes, Rajkumar, that is the limitation, you can say. Okay, that is the limitation which you have here. Okay, right. And still you want to talk about that, you can always get in touch with us, right? Our team will help you with that. Okay, but as of now, this is the case. Chalo. So now, next thing, okay, put today's date. Okay, if you have not put yesterday's date, please go back and put yesterday's date, and please put today's date now. I'm starting with the further concepts, okay? And they have a habit of daily putting the date in your notebook before we start off anything. So that will give you a lot of confidence. Okay, I have learned this today, and then I've learned this on a particular day. So this will give you a lot of confidence. And of course, if mom says, what were you doing, right, with the mobile in your hand? So you can always show, see this, mom, I was studying, correct? It might happen, right? So she might doubt, or she might say, maybe you're not studying. So you can always show it. See my notebook, I am studying, right? Okay, guys. So next topic you can write is sources of law. What? In basics of law. We are in the topic basics of law, and various things we're discussing there, like we have discussed types of law. Now the next thing which we have is sources of law. Okay, sources of law. So now, what is my question? Sources of law meaning what? Sir, what are you asking? Please understand, what I'm trying to say is, where does the law come from? Sources of law meaning nothing but where does the law come from? Correct. Sir, you said we have to study from the material or book which you will provide us, right? A comprehensive book, you were saying. Same way you said we can refer to the ICAI study material. So that is the book from where we are going to study. Why are you asking this question? My dear friends, please understand. If I am giving you a book on law, correct, on business laws, I might have referred something, I might have read something, so I might have picked the content from there, correct? Same way, if ICAI has given you some study material on business laws, don't you think they might have read from somewhere about that law and taken that particular, content in the book? So that's my question. What did I read? What did ICAI read and has taken, okay, from this, right? Sir, somewhat right. See, my question is sources of law. So obviously, it's not that I am the lawmaker or ICAI is the lawmaker. Correct. If you're thinking this way, you're absolutely correct. So my question is not relating to me, you or ICAI. My question is relating to the lawmakers. Lawmakers might have referred something. Lawmakers might have gone through something and then made law. Correct? Yes. So my question is sources of law, meaning where does the law come from? Okay, well, the lawmakers will take inputs from somewhere. So what is that somewhere or someone? Correct? Okay, so let's answer that. Correct? Where does the law come from? Broadly, we can say, broadly, there are three sources. How many sources? Three sources. Also, sir, what? Don't you think that when they want to make any law, they will have to look into the society? They will have to look into our culture, tradition, customs, usages, the day-to-day principles. Do you think they will look into all these things or not? Yes. So please understand, the first source for law is traditions, or you can write customs, usages, rituals, beliefs, culture, etc. Okay, so this is the first source. You agree? Okay, you don't agree, you can always express. Secondly, what do you think? Court decisions. What? Court decisions, case laws. That's also another source. That's also another source. You'll say, is it, sir? Yes. If some judgment comes, okay, judgment of a particular case comes, don't you think the lawmakers would keep an eye over it? And if that judgment, of course, will make sense, I should not say if it is making sense, it makes sense, then it will be incorporated in the law, correct? So please understand that court, the judges plays an important role in the making of law. So their decisions, okay, the decisions given by the judges, by the courts also will be taken into consideration while making a particular law, correct? So I can say the judgment, court judgments or the decisions is also an important source. Okay, sir. So tradition, custom, that is society, from society they will get, from the case laws or the court decisions they'll get something, right, for the law. Apart from this, don't you think they on their own might also visualize things, right? The parliament on their own also might visualize things and maybe, come up with law? Yes. So that's where the third source, I would say, the parliamentarians, the experts, okay, who are helping in making that particular law. So that is third source. Okay. What did I say? What is that we are discussing? Sources of law. So the first source we said is the tradition, or maybe the customs, usages, rituals, belief, culture. This is first source from where they can get, okay, some points for the law. Then secondly, I said court decisions, okay, court decisions or case laws, or the judicial or quasi-judicial pronouncements or equity, okay, anything you can use. And the third one, I said the parliamentarians, the experts who are assisting them, they also will visualize something and they will come up with some point, right? They can think about something and they can get rules and regulations for those particular activities or functions. Okay, so this way we can broadly say there are three sources for law, right? There are three sources for law. Okay, so now the question comes, sir, you have written tradition or culture or customs or usages or rituals, beliefs, society. So do we need to write all? See, it's up to you. I would always like to get, as many terms as possible for a particular word. Okay, because if you don't know them and come across later and probably wondering what is it, definitely would not be right, isn't it? So if you have a friend, if I have to give you an example, suppose you have a friend, okay, whose name is Madhav. So you go to Madhav's house, okay, who stays in a particular building, and that to third floor. So you're shouting from the ground floor. Of course, you'll not go to third floor and call him, right? So you go to his house and stand on the road and shout, Madhav, Madhav, correct? Third floor easy, but no one comes out. So it's been maybe 5 minutes that you're calling him and he has not come out. The neighbor also wonders, whom are you calling? Why is it that they are also wondering, and why is it that no one came out of Madhav's house as well? Because maybe, who knows, Madhav is not called as Madhav in his neighborhood or at his house. He is called as Bunty, maybe, who knows. So because you don't know his nickname or his pet name is Bunty, that's where you were calling him by Madhav, but no one knows about it, correct? Rather, Madhav also forgot. After going to his home, maybe he also forgot that, oh, my name is what? Madhav. He remembers it as Bunty. Quite possible, isn't it? So that's why you should know both Madhav and Bunty. Same way, please understand, you should know tradition is also called as culture, customs, usages, because who knows, different people might use different terms, correct? Okay, sir. Secondly, court decisions. Okay, sir, we understood. Decisions given by the court. Or equity. So what is this equity? Equity share capital. Is it equity share capital? No, it's equity. Equity means uniformity, right? Equity share capital, when you say, that means uniform share capital. So here, the idea of any court or judge will be to provide justice, to bring in uniformity. So from there, this word equity is derived. So we use even the word equity for court decisions, and that's where I have written it. Sir, I don't know. Now you got to know. So keep in mind. So once in a while I might also use it, okay, saying that we referred that equity. You'll say we referred that equity. What is it? We referred that particular case. We referred that particular decision of the case. So like that, people may refer. Okay. Then judicial pronouncement. What? Judicial pronouncement. Pronouncement means nothing but decision. Correct. So judicial pronouncement means decisions given by the judges. Okay, sir. But what is quasi-judicial pronouncements? What is quasi-judicial pronouncement? That also we should understand. Correct. Quasi-judicial pronouncement. Sir, judicial means you said judges. Okay. So what is quasi-judicial? Please understand, what we mean by quasi-judicial is something which is brought in by law. Okay. I'll give you a simple example. First, judicial body means courts. All the courts are what? Judicial bodies, which are set up, which are established by government. But who has given the power to the government to make those bodies? Constitution. Okay. What did I say? I'll repeat once. Okay. Judicial bodies, nothing but courts. Courts are the best example for judicial bodies. So who establishes, who sets up this court? Government. Question comes, who has given the power to the government? Correct. If you're saying government can do that, who has given the power? Constitution has given the power. You know, Constitution is the document by way of which all our laws are made. Right. If you don't know, I'm sharing it. Right. You might have read in your schools and all, but still, if you have forgotten, please remember, Constitution is the document for our country. So whatever is made has to come within the purview of Constitution. Right. So please understand that the courts which are being established by government gets the power. Government gets the power from where? Constitution. Right. So judicial body means set up by government and the power comes from Constitution. Now you'll say, sir, what is quasi-judicial body? Set up by government, but the power comes from law. Okay. Like income tax tribunal. Income tax tribunal is established by government, but who has given the power to the government to establish that? It comes from Income Tax Act. You'll say, sir, but all laws are from Constitution, so indirectly. But directly, if I'm talking about where is the government getting the power from? Government is getting the power from that particular act, from that particular law called as Income Tax Act. If I'm talking about Income Tax Tribunal, same way we have got National Company Law Tribunal. Okay, we have got what? National Company Law Tribunal. In short, we can say NCLT. Okay, NCLT, National Company Law Tribunal. So NCLT is set up by government. Okay, central government has established that. Who has given the power to the government? And the answer is Company Law, Companies Act. Companies Act gave the power. So the law is giving the power. Income Tax Act, that's also a law. Companies Act is also a law. So when law gives the power to the government, and that is where they create some judicial body, that judicial body will not be called as judicial body, that will be called as quasi-judicial body. Okay, quasi-judicial body. Whereas judicial body means the one which is set up by government and government is getting the power from Constitution. Okay, so the cases when we say are coming out from courts, or maybe you'll say, sir, tribunals. Yes, that can be inputs as well for the law. Okay, so not just the decisions of the courts, but also decisions of the tribunals will be considered by the lawmakers while making a particular law. So, sir, if they have made GST law, so GST law was made on court decisions? Yes. They have considered the various cases which were there on sales tax, okay, on central sales tax, on VAT, and then came up with this law called as GST law. So please understand this thing. Okay, right, sir. And then third one, anyways, you can understand the parliament or maybe the expert committees who are assisting, they can also visualize and thereby they can get the law. Okay, so these are the sources. Now any source you want to name, you can name. The answer will fall, or your answer will fall in these three broad heads only. Okay, so if you're thinking of some other source, like someone will say, sir, British law. Okay, source for law is British law. My dear friend, my question is not for source for Indian law. My question is sources of law. So am I talking about Indian law, of, okay, British law, some other? No, I'm talking in general. Okay, I'm talking in general. So my question is not sources of Indian law. Otherwise, I would have said British law. but then my source is my question is here sources of law. So this is how, I mean, we can say that the law is being, I mean, taken from, or the inputs are being taken from. Okay. Now someone is asking me a question, who made the first law? That's very difficult to answer, because it's not just that the laws have come now, right? It's not that India, after becoming republic or independent, the laws are being made. When Britishers were ruling, that time also we had laws. Before Britishers also we had some laws. Maybe they were called by some other names. So it's very difficult to answer, but still, if you want, you can Google it. Okay, right. Chaliye. So if you have followed this, please say yes, sir, so that I can move ahead with features of law. The next topic which we have after sources is features of law. Okay, maybe we'll not be discussing all the features, but some of the important features we would be discussing. Okay, so once you give a thumbs up, that is, say yes, then we'll proceed with features of law. Okay, so I've got a thumbs up here. So let's move ahead and talk about some important features of law. Okay, can you guess some important features of law? Like you might say, sir, law is compulsory, sir, right? Law is mandatory, law is very strict, correct? So like that, can you come up with some features? Let's see whether you can answer it. Try. At the most, what will happen, you know, the answer might be wrong. That's absolutely fine, because I'm not going to punish you for the wrong answers. I've told you yesterday also. Right. So I'm expecting some inputs from your side, some answer from your side. Okay, my question is features of law, some important features of law. Okay, very good. Vidhi says it's uniform in nature. Perfect. Okay. Someone says that it's for the smoothness. That means he's trying to say that law has an objective to bring smoothness. Okay, great. Okay, any other answers? Okay, it's applicable to everyone, correct. Okay, chaliye, good. So now let's talk about the features one by one. First one, as I've told you, it's mandatory, it's compulsory. What? It's compulsory. Every law is compulsory. Now you'll say, sir, but for whom? Obviously for those for whom it is applicable, my dear friends. Now if you're attending the class and I say, for attending this class you need a driving license, because driving license is compulsory as per the traffic law, don't you think you'll laugh at me? You'll say, what are you joking, sir? Kya? Huh? Chindi joke hai, correct? You'll not like it. You'll say, this is useless. This is something not making sense. So please understand, law is mandatory for those whom it is applicable. Okay. Now if I say, show me your certificate of incorporation, you'll say, what nonsense again. No, certificate of incorporation is must for every company form of business. You'll say, okay, I'm doing a business, but I'm a sole proprietor. I'm not a company. So if I'm not a company, how is it that you can say that COI is compulsory for me? Isn't it? So please understand that law is mandatory for those people for whom it is applicable. Correct? If you're running a company form of business, COI will be mandatory. Registration will be mandatory. If you're driving a two-wheeler or a four-wheeler on a road, of course, the traffic police has got the right to ask you the driving license. There it is mandatory. So in a situation, and for that person to whom the law is applicable, for them it is mandatory. Okay, right. Now, if there is a law relating to some coaching or maybe what do you say, tuition classes, then do you think it would be applicable to us? It would be applicable to me? Yes. Correct? Right. Then second important feature I would say is flexibility. What? Flexibility, meaning every law is flexible in two sense. One, it has got exceptions. It has got what? Exceptions. And secondly, every law keeps changing. Every law keeps changing as well, because I've told you law is for a society and society keeps changing, so law also has to change. That's where we were saying law is dynamic, correct? So you will find time and again that there are amendments which are brought in, changes which are brought in every type of law, whenever required, of course, correct? Whenever required, they'll bring in changes, amendments. So that way it is flexible again, right? So flexible in two sense. One is exceptions and second one is what? Amendments. Now you would say, sir, why are you not showing it on the screen? Sir, please show that particular slide on the screen, and we would just note it down, right? We would start our favorite hobby. What is your favorite hobby, by the way? Sir, copy, sir. No, my dear friends, let's stop that hobby. Okay, I would not show the screen until we finish the discussion on a particular topic. Okay, so let me complete the discussion on important features, then I will show you the slide. Acha, so does it mean that you should start writing only when I show the screen? No. As and when we are discussing, please make a note of it. Please write down. And when I show the screen, cross check whether you have written it properly or not. If you have written something wrong, correct it. Or if you have written everything properly, but you think probably you can improve it, then improvise. Okay? Sir, but why are you doing this? See, for the simple reason, if I show directly the answer on the screen, then you will not think. First thing, you will not think. Secondly, what will happen is you will not be involved in the discussion as well. You will be majorly focusing on the answer shown on the screen and write it down without even discussing, right? Without getting involved in the discussion. So that is where I will not directly show the answer or the content on the screen, but rather wait for the discussion to get over first. Okay, I hope I'm making sense and you're able to understand. For everything we have a reason. For everything we have a reason, correct? Okay, so talking about features, continuing with features, we said mandatory for those whom it is applicable. Secondly, we said flexibility in two sense. One is amendment and another one is exceptions. Every law will have some exceptions. You'll say, sir, what exceptions? Okay, I'll go with the same example. Yesterday we were saying Krishna has jumped the signal, correct? Now, and then one more female has jumped the signal, if you remember, one of your friends who have jumped the signal. So the Mamu catches hold of them and is asking for fine, correct? Now imagine there is an ambulance also behind, ambulance which is carrying a patient. So do you think if ambulance jumps a signal, again Mamu will stop that particular ambulance and collect fine from them? Or let's say police one is going, catching a criminal, and that's where they've jumped the signal. So the traffic cop will stop that particular police one and collect the fine from them. Do you think it's there? No, of course not. That means there is some exception, correct? That means there is some exception. Someone is asking me the meaning of exception. Exception means what? A different one, correct? When we are talking about something, we first talk about general things, my dear friend, and then we discuss exception, correct? Like I ask you, what is that your mom has cooked today, right? If I'm specifically saying cook today, then you will give today's answer. But if I say generally, what does your mom cooks for the lunch? You say, sir, maybe chapati, maybe some curry, and maybe some rice, and maybe dal and salad, like that we have. Okay, but on your birthday, you'll say, sir, on my birthday, there's gulab jamun, pav bhaji, correct? There's biryani, which is cooked by my mom. So that's an exception. So generally it's not that, right? Generally it's roti, curry, maybe chawal and dal. But then when I'm talking about some occasion, exceptionally, so this is an exception. Are you able to get it? So exception. So we are saying law also has got some exceptions. Generally they collect fine when you jump the traffic signal, but in the case of ambulance or police van, right, they don't collect the fine there, they don't punish. That means there's an exception. Okay, yes sir, great. Next, compliance. Okay, when you talk about features of law, when you talk about law, don't you think everyone has to comply with that law? And how do you think they need to comply? They need to comply the law in true letter and spirit. Compliance of law in true letter and spirit, meaning don't just comply for the sake of it. Comply in such a way that you're able to achieve the objective. Are you getting it? don't just attend the class, but attend in such a way that the objective is met. And what is our objective? Understand things properly, should be able to apply things properly, correct, should be able to present it well, you remember. So you should be able to meet that objective. You're simply attending the class without any focus, without any attention, without any concentration. Do you think it's really attending class? No. So one has to understand that same way law also has to be followed in letter and spirit. Comply means follow. The English term, I'm not using any technical or legal term, right? Whether it is exception is an English word. Comply means what? Comply is an English word again. Comply means follow the law in such a way that you can achieve the objective of it. Okay, no problem. I'm there to help you out. So I hope you have understood that you should follow the law in such a way that objective is achieved. Okay, sir, can you give an example? Yes, why not? Now, in case of auction sale, which we are going to read in Sale of Goods Act. So all of you know auction sale, right? Where bidding is being done. Auction hota hai na? So in case of auction sale, the person whose property is getting auctioned, in case of a person whose property is getting auctioned, he cannot participate in bidding. That's the law. When we go to Sale of Goods Act, you'll read that. Okay, we'll be discussing about that. So if let's say my property is getting auctioned, then I cannot participate in that bidding. That's the law. Okay, so what will I do now? You'll say, sir, you should not attend the bidding. Fine. But is there a chance that I might send my friend there on my behalf to do the bidding? Yes, sir. You're quite smart. You will do that. I'll send my friend only, who knows, for the purpose of what? Bidding on my behalf. So he will not reveal that he is my friend, he is my agent, nothing. He'll just start bidding. But there is a private arrangement between us. So this is how I'm following law. So if someone says, did you attend the bidding? I'll say, no, I have not attended. But do you really think I have followed law properly? No. I have followed law, but not in letter and spirit. Correct? Remember, objective has to be achieved. Okay. Right, sir. Okay. One more example I'll give you. Dipesh. Okay. One of our friend Dipesh, who's there. So Dipesh is driving a two-wheeler with his headphones on. Headphones on. Now, do you think that he is following the traffic law? Do you think he is following the traffic law? Because mobile is not allowed while driving. So he says, see, mobile is not allowed, but I'm not using mobile, I'm using earphones. Do you think he is right there? The answer is no. Because again, if they have written mobile is not allowed, that means mobile plus all other devices, okay, connected to mobile are also not allowed, because it will disturb your concentration while driving. So one has to understand that not just this mobile, but also other things not allowed. Every time it's not possible, they tell you everything in detail, minutely. Few things you have to understand yourself, right? So that is how I'm saying that whenever you follow law in such a way that the objective should be achieved. If you are following law in a way where the objective doesn't get achieved, then it's just making fun of law. Okay, sir, understood. One more example I'll give. Chalo, और एक ले लेते हैं example. ठीक है? Let's say Vidhi, our friend Vidhi, is on is on road driving a two-wheeler, maybe coming to the classes. I know it's not the time for classes, but still, assume, see, most of the examples which I'll take will be hypothetical examples, okay? Hypothetical examples, meaning I'm just creating situation, visualizing things and presenting it before you, okay? So imagine Vidhi is on the road, driving a two-wheeler, going for the classes. So she has to go straight. She's on a crossroad, so she has to go straight, but then the signal is red. She finds that there is a free left turn. So she thinks, instead of waiting for 5 minutes here, maybe what I can do is I can take left turn, then U-turn, and then again left. So I will save time, right? Quite intelligent, right? Vidhi is quite intelligent. So she says, if I have to go straight, I should not violate law, right? I should be following law, I should be complying with law. So that's why she says I'll take left, free left, and then U-turn, free left, and then U-turn, and then left. This is how I can go straight and save my time. Do you think she's doing it right? Do you really think she's following the law? Come on, please answer. I'm waiting for your answer. Did Vidhi in this situation complied with law? Okay, I've got the first answer saying yes, sir. Okay. Others, please do participate. Yes, yes. Okay, 4 yes I've got. 5, 6. Oh, Vidhi also says yes. Oh, Vidhi will definitely say yes. Yes, sir, I followed law. How can she say no? Okay, more yes. Okay, so let me tell you, all of you have answered wrong. You say, sir, why? How can you say that our answer is wrong? My dear friends, please understand. The objective of law is not that when the signal is red, okay, and you have to go straight, then you should take a free left and then U-turn and then left. Is this the objective? No. So how can we say that she has complied with law? Right? Just because there is a free left, does it mean that anyone who has to go straight should do this way? No. Right? Please understand, this is not the way. If the signal is red and some person who has to go left, for them the free left is there, but not for those who have to go straight. Because if you imagine a situation, now Vidhi does this, let's say Vidhi who has to go straight has done this, okay. Same way on the left hand side, let's say Krishna is there who also has to go straight and he also takes left and then U-turn and then left. Third side, okay, third side, let us say Dipesh is there whose signal is also red and he also does the same. He has to go straight but he also takes left and then U-turn and then left. Fourth side, let us say there is Harsh. Let us say there is Harsh and his signal is green. What will he do? Do you think he really can move? No, because this will all lead to chaos. Those three sides where the signal is red, people are doing this nonsense. So the fourth side where the signal is green, do you think the persons on that side will be able to go straight? Will it be possible for them? No. My dear friends, please understand, that is where the objective of law is not met. So we cannot say Vidhi has complied with law or Vidhi has followed law. We cannot say that. Okay, because when we say complied, we have to understand that compliance, okay, that following of law should be in letter and spirit, should be followed in such a way that the objective is achieved. Don't do anything for the namesake of it. This is a lesson for our life as well. Don't do anything for the sake of it. Okay, do anything or whatever you do, it should be done with a particular objective in mind and you should be able to achieve that. Okay. Right, sir. So maybe 3 features we've discussed till now. First one we said mandatory. Second one we said flexibility. Third one we said compliance in letter and spirit. Fourth, maybe you can say uniformity. One of your friend already answered that, correct? Uniformity. So maybe we can say every law has to be uniform, right? It should be uniformly applicable. They cannot differentiate. There might be some exceptions, no doubt. But generally when I'm talking about there should be uniformity. If there is a company law, the company law should be applicable to all the companies in the uniform fashion, uniform way, right? They cannot differentiate unless there's an exception required, correct? Okay. Then one more important feature I'll just share with you is ignorance of law is not an excuse. What did I say? Ignorance of law is not an excuse. Ignorance of law is not an excuse. Sir, what are you talking about? Okay, let me take an example. Let us say Mohit. Mohit was born in Dubai. Mohit was brought up in Dubai. All his schooling and all was done in Dubai. And for the first time he has come to India. Let's say after coming to India, getting down at the Hyderabad airport, he has taken a rented cab and then he's driving himself. Okay, and when the traffic signal, which is let's say red, comes, he still drives. He still drives through. The Mamu, the cop, catches hold of him, saying, "What nonsense? Signal was red and still you have crossed it." He says, "Yes, nothing wrong I have done." He says, "What nonsense? If it is green, then you can, drive through, but it was red. How can you cross?" So he says, "Why? No, in India, this is the law." He says, "Is it? In Dubai, that is not the case." Again, this is a hypothetical situation, my dear friends. Please note. So he says, in Dubai, that's not the case. And see, there's a logic also. When signal is red, right? Red is a sign of danger. So danger means what? Run. So that's where I was driving through. It's logical as well that when there is red, then we can cross, we can go. Whereas green, we should not, because green means what? Prosperity. Green indicates prosperity. So when there is prosperity, we would like to stay back. So I've done something logical and right. Do you think the Mamu will leave him? Do you think the cop will not charge any fine, will not penalize him? He will. He'll say, if you have come to India, you should know the Indian laws, Indian rules, Indian regulations. He says, no, I have come for the first time. Do you think still he's going to be left? He's going to be, the cop will leave him? No. So my dear friends, kindly understand that when you come to a particular place, when you're staying in a particular place, when you're carrying on some activity, some business at a particular place, in a particular locality, you're supposed to know the law of that particular locality. So ignorance cannot be an excuse. Okay, we'll talk about exceptions to this sometime later, but remember, this is a general rule. When you are ignorant about some law, that doesn't mean they'll ignore you. That's your problem, not their problem. Okay, this is the general rule. So this is another feature. Okay, sir. Then someone will say, sir, law is written in some special way, I guess, right? The language of law is slightly different. Yes, it's written in a special way. And that's where the rules of interpretation will help us. The rules of interpretation will help us. So if you just recall the agenda in basics of law, you will find that I have written the various items. And after those items, the last one is rules of interpretation. Rules of interpretation. Interpretation means what? Understanding. So, are there any rules for understanding? Yes. Right? Sometimes you also say, right, to your friend. Maybe you say something and then you say, I don't mean to say that way. I did not meant that way. That means you're trying to tell him that you have understood it in a wrong way. Correct? So, that is how please understand here also, you would have to understand the law properly, and for that we have got some rules, some tools. So that is what we are going to learn as well in short, because in detail you have that in CA, Inter and Final, but in short at least you should know what are the rules of interpretation, how exactly we should understand law, how exactly we should read law. So on that basis I have written here. Now the screen shows the answer for you, right, written in a special way. These were some of the important features, okay, some of the important features, and that's where I have written at the end etc. etc. Okay, so let me just take you through these important features once again quickly. First we said mandatory for those whom it is applicable. Secondly we said every law is flexible. Flexible in which sense? So we said in the sense of every law will have some amendments from time to time. Then also every law will have exceptions. Correct? So that way law is flexible. Then third one we said law is uniform. Then we also said compliance of law should be in true letter and spirit. That means you should follow law. I am repeating again. What do we mean by compliance in letter and spirit? True letter and spirit. Follow law in such a way that the objective of that law is achieved. Okay, follow law in such a way that the objective of the law is achieved. Right? Then ignorance is not an excuse. So follow law in such a way that don't ignore the law. Okay, you should follow law properly, and you should know law of any particular locality where you're living, residing, or carrying on your business. Then also we said law is written in a special way. Correct? And then I have written etc. Okay, sir, we have understood this. Now I'll say, sir, but if you just see your slide, you have written something which we are not able to follow, and language also we are not able to understand. Correct? IGNORANTIA. What is this, sir? Juris. What is this, sir? Then you are also saying non-x exqcusat, right? Which language have you written this? संस्कृत है या क्या है ये? Correct? My dear friends, please note, this is the Latin language. This is the Latin maxim, M-A-X-I-M, not magazine, it is maxim, M-A-X-I-M. Okay, so it's Latin maxim, means it's a quote. You understand quotes, no? Right? Sayings in Hindi, in Telugu, or maybe in Marathi, in English, we have got different types of quotes. Same way, in Latin language also we have got some quotes. So when you read law, you will find that the lawmakers or the jurists, the various judges, pick up quotes from Latin language, and that's where we have also used it. That's where we have also used it. Okay, so if you understand what is written there in the Latin languages, ignorantia, okay, ignorantia juris non execusat. This is how you will read it. Okay, ignorantia juris non execusat, meaning ignorance is not an excuse. If you are ignorant, you cannot take that as an excuse. It's your problem. If you don't know something, how can you say excuse me, right? It's not possible. So understand, like that we'll come across a lot of Latin maxims when we study law, not just at CA foundation level, but inter and final level too. Okay, so this is the first Latin maxim which you're learning now, ignorantia juris non execusat, which means what? Ignorance is not an excuse. Okay, so these were some features of law, right? Say yes, you're able to follow, right? Say at least followed, sir, or say yes, sir, so that I can proceed ahead. Okay, great. Right. Okay. Acha. Now, just tell me one thing. We said features of law, right? Now, if it comes to Prime Minister, let's say we are reading about Prime Minister. Let's say we are reading about a CFO of a company, Chief Financial Officer, CEO of a company. Then do you think still we'll be learning about, or we'll be discussing about features of CEO, features of Prime Minister, features of CFO? Do you think so? Do you think so? I'm waiting for your answer. Please answer. Do you think we'll use the same word features for Prime Minister, features for CEO, features for CFO? Is it? Come on, please reply. Okay, someone says no. Oh, rather 3 no's have come. Okay, then what do we use? Which term do you think is appropriate? Which shall be used? Which word is appropriate? If not features, then what shall we be using there? Okay, someone has answered qualities. Functions. Very, very good, Rashi. You're absolutely correct. Right, we'll be using the term functions. Okay, so functions of CEO, functions of CFO, functions of Prime Minister, functions of President. So when we are talking about a particular post, particular position, particular person, there we use the term functions. Correct? When I'm talking about a teacher, again we'll say functions, not features. So please understand, right? We have to use the right terminology at right place. Okay, sir. Right. We followed it. Now let's go for the next one. Please write the heading, procedure for enacting a law. Okay. Next heading which you will give is what? Procedure for enacting a law. Procedure for enacting, meaning procedure for making a law. There should be a procedure, no? Or do you think law should be just made abruptly, ad hoc basis? No, that's not right. Everything should be organized, should be done in a systematic way, in a particular manner. And if that manner is fixed, it will help all of us. Correct? So please give the heading procedure for enactment of law. Right? So we have discussed definition of law, objective of law, then definition of business laws for CA aspirant, different types of laws. Then we have talked about important features of law, sources of law. Correct? Now, please understand we are talking about procedure for enactment of law, procedure for making a law. Okay? Right, sir. So now, how do you think a law is being made? What is the first step there? So the first thing is that a bill will be drafted. A bill, a budget, a draft. Okay? You can use any word, a letter will be drafted. By whom? By whom? Suppose there has to be a law on finance, on financial matters. Then who will draft a bill on that? Of course, the finance minister. Correct? That means Ministry of Finance, not the labor ministry, not the railways ministry. No. So one has to understand that the bill, the budget, the ordinance will be drafted by the respective ministry. By whom? By the respective ministry. Okay. Right, sir. So, respective ministry meaning that minister only will draft? No, there are committees. There will be committees set up by that ministry, and those committees, those experts will be helping them in drafting that. Okay. So with the help of experts and committees, the respective ministry will come out with a draft, with a budget, with an ordinance. Okay, sir. Next, what? That itself is a law? No. Now this particular bill will be taken to cabinet. Will be taken to cabinet, and the cabinet will have a discussion on it. Cabinet will have a discussion on it, and once the cabinet approves, after the discussion, cabinet will approve it. Then it will be taken to the parliament, and in parliament also first to the lower house, that is Lok Sabha, and then to the upper house, that is Rajya Sabha. For what purpose they will take it to the parliament? Obviously for discussion purposes, right? For discussion, and after discussion, approval. So once the discussion is over in the parliament, then they will have to approve it, or maybe they will approve it with some modifications, with some changes, right? They'll say, yes, we agree with this, but slight change is required here. Correct? So please understand that once a bill is drafted by the respective ministry, it will be taken to the cabinet of that government. The cabinet will have a discussion on the same and might suggest some changes there. After that, it will go to the parliament. For what purpose? For the purpose of discussion and approval. And when we say parliament, the first is lower house, that is Lok Sabha, and the second one is Rajya Sabha, that is the upper house. Okay, sir. So draft bill, respective ministry, first one, okay. Then secondly, you said cabinet approval, so fine. Third, you said parliament for discussion and approval purpose, okay. Let's say parliament also approved it. Maybe with changes or without changes, whatever. Parliament approved it. Then what? Now it becomes a law? No. Then they will take it to president, to the president of our country. And the president of our country will be giving his assent, right? Will be signing, will be giving his assent, will be giving his approval. And then we can say it becomes a law. Till then, till the president signed, it was just a bill. But once president has signed it, then that bill becomes an act or law or statute, I can say. Law, statute, act is one and the same. Are you getting it? So after parliament, it has to be taken where? To the president for his approval. And president also may suggest some changes if he wants. Okay. And then maybe you can say president will sign and then it will become law. Okay, sir. Now after it becomes a law, it should be put in the drawers, drawers of the table. No, it should be implemented, isn't it? It should be made effective. So what has to be done for that? Right? There should be a date fixed. From this particular date, it will be effective. From this date, it will be implemented. So please understand, there are two things when it comes to implementation. Firstly, there can be a single date fixed, and on that single date, the whole law will be implemented. Or who knows, they'll say few sections, few provisions we will implement on this day, few provisions on some other day, few more on some other date, like that. They will have the implementation in phased manner. Okay. So with respect to manner of implementation, please understand, with respect to manner of implementation, they might they may go for implementation at one go, okay, whole of law on one particular date, or secondly in phases. Okay. From which date, sir? Immediately? Yes, possible. Retrospective, prospective also is possible. Prospective means from a future date, and retrospective means backdated. They'll say we are making law today, but we will implement it from maybe 1st of March 2019 itself. It's possible. Very rarely it will happen, but yes, there is a possibility. Okay, so immediately they can implement. So if they're making law today, they'll say it is effective from today, or they'll say we are making it today, but it will be effective after 1 year, after 6 months, after 2 months. They'll do that as well, or maybe who knows, they go for a retrospective way of implementation. Okay, my dear friends. So first let me take you to that slide and then talk more about it. So now you can see, you can observe procedure for enactment of what? Law. Correct. So bill, draft, budget, ordinance drafted by the respective ministry is taken to the cabinet for discussion and approval purpose, then discussed and approved by the parliament, right? Parliament may approve with or without changes, without modification, or who knows, with modification, then taken to the president will give his assent, right? And then assent means approval. Assent is nothing but approval. Okay, right. Then that bill will become law. Maybe you can call it a statute or act. Then once it becomes law, it has to be implemented at one go. That means whole of law on a single date, or who knows, they will implement it in phases. That's also possible. And then, as I've written there, the date can be prospective. Prospective means future date. Prospective means what? Future date. Immediate, now, today itself. Today we have made today itself. Or who knows, retrospective, backdated, right? Backdated also. Now, so sir, backdated, can you give an example to make us understand? Yes, I am giving an hypothetical example here. Now, for your information, there is no tax on agricultural income. That's a fact. As per Income Tax Act 1961 of India, there is no tax on agricultural income. And now they think of changing that law. So they bring an amendment. Okay, they bring an amendment. And they say that from now onwards, we are going to tax agricultural income also. That too from which date? So let's say they are coming up with this on 1st of January 2021. They came up with an amendment saying that agricultural income will also be taxed. From which date? They can say from 1st of January 2021 only, that is immediate. Or they can say maybe 31st of March 2021, from that date we will, so that will become prospective, future date. Or they can say that though we are bringing it on 1st January 2021, but last year agricultural income also will be taxed. Last year 2020 agriculture income also will be taxed. That means they are going to implement this backdated, that is retrospectively. Understand, my dear friends? So this is how there is a possibility: immediate implementation, prospective, or retrospective. Able to understand? Yes, sir, we are able to understand. But please check the application, please check the reasoning. Okay, we'll do that. I should be doing that. Okay, so let me ask you some questions if you have understood this. First thing, why is it that we have different ministries? Do you think PM Modi is incompetent? He can't handle? No, sir, he can handle, but it will become really difficult and challenging for him. Handling every activity, every function is not possible. After all, he is also a human being. So, if the government is divided into various ministries and there is a minister, there is a head governing it or taking care of it, don't you think together they can work maybe in a better way, and maybe the prime minister can head those ministries? Overall, I'm talking about it. There is a respective head, but overall, who is the head? The prime minister of our country. So this way, the ministries, if there are ministries, it is always going to help in proper governance, proper regulation. Correct? Okay, like in a simple example, in your, let's say at your home also there is some function. Now don't you think then they divide the responsibility? You guys divide the responsibility. Someone will say I'll take care of catering, someone will say I'll take care of guests, someone will say I'll take care of decoration, someone will say I'll take care of invitation. Like that, don't you think we take up the responsibility, we divide the responsibility? Otherwise there will be what? Confusion. There will be blame game. So that's not right. Same way you can say for running a government, running a country, right? Government has to set up various ministries and departments so that governance can be effective. Okay, right, sir, understood. Sir, secondly, why is it that it is taken to parliament? What is the use of taking government? Anyways, we have elected Modi, now he can say this is the law. Why is it that he has to take it to parliament for discussion purpose? Now please tell me, the law is made for whom? For whom did they make the law? Society, people, we guys, correct? So don't you think that they have to ask us before they make any law? They have to ask us? Yes. But is that practically possible that they consult each and every citizen of this country, each and every voter of this country? Is it practically possible? No. But is it possible that they approach at least your representatives? Yes. You'll say, yes, sir, representative, it is always possible. So, and where are our representatives? Tell me. Where do our representatives sit? Parliament. Their adda is parliament, no? So, please understand, law is for society and the representatives of society are there in the parliament. So, he has to ask that. He has to ask them. Understand? So, simple thing, simple reason. Law is for society, so consult society, that means consult the representatives of the society, and that is what he is doing. He might be in power, right? The party might be in majority, but then opposition also, the members of opposition also are representative of society. You cannot neglect them, you cannot ignore them. That's the beauty of democracy. Okay, sir, we understood. Fine, parliament reason we understood. Now the next question comes, sir, after the parliament approves, why there is a need to go to president to take signature? What is so special about the President Ramnath Kovind Sahab? Why is it that it has to be taken there? Definitely this question arises. Lalu Prasad Yadav also can sign it, no? Modi himself can sign. Why President? If you understand, President is the first citizen of this country. President is the first citizen of this country. So now when we are saying this law is for the citizens of this country, you cannot take signatures from everyone. So take signature from at least the first citizen. At least the first citizen. That's where the requirement of taking assent, that is approval. What is the meaning of assent? Approval. Okay. ASSENT. You can also write approval. So approval by president. Okay, sir. We understood this reason as well. Fine. Sir, E is next one. E is law, statute, act, one and the same. Yes, as of now I'll say same only. Later on I'll help you understand what's the difference between act and law. Not now, okay, not now. Later on when the right time comes, I'll share that as well with you. As of now you can use these terms interchangeably. There's no problem at all. Later on also you can use, but because you are going to be a professional, you should know these type of minute differences as well. So I will share that later. Like page and paper, is there a difference? So sir, page, paper, one and the same thing? No, no. One paper has got 2 pages. You agree? Obviously you have to. So that is how, maybe minute thing, but you should know that. Same way, this also I'll share at right time, not now. Okay, next one. Sir, if they bring some amendment in a law, now let's say they have made Companies Act 2013. Later on they can bring some amendment in that. So for amendment also, is there any procedure? For amendment also, is there any procedure? Of course, yes. For amendment also there is a procedure and the same procedure. Okay. So when they bring a law or when they bring a change in law, same procedure has to be followed. Okay, sir. We are able to understand here. Fine. So give me the, understanding by a thumbs up so that I can proceed further, or if you have any question in this, please raise it. Okay, please ask. Okay, I've got a first, second thumbs up, third. Good. Okay, great. So you're able to follow. That's good to know. I appreciate all those who are participating and also invite all other attendees of this session to participate as well. Right? All those who are watching this right live, please do participate. Please show your understanding so that I can move ahead with more confidence. Correct? You guys will give me confidence. I will give you confidence, no doubt, but you will also give me confidence by saying, yes, we have understood, we have followed, right? Okay. Chaliye. So next one which you can write is arrangement. Okay, next one which you are supposed to write is arrangement of law. Acha, before that, give the heading arrangement of law. Now, please answer. Is this all required to be discussed? Huh? So you're wasting our time. Business law, what is business law? What is the objective of law? How do we make law? Is there any procedure? What are the different sources? Do you really think it's all going to make sense? Of course, yes, my dear friends. I am investing a lot of time in this for the simple reason, as I've told you, that we will be professionals. And if someone asks us this question and we are not able to answer this, it will be a shame on us. Yes, it will be a shame on us. We will be calling ourselves as an expert and we don't know these fundamental things, or we are not able to answer these fundamental things. Don't you think it's not correct? Yes. So that's why, though maybe in examination they will not ask this, but you should know these fundamentals. And if you know these fundamentals, later on you will enjoy the subject, you will understand the subject also properly. You'll enjoy, plus you will understand it properly. That's why I'm investing time on this. Okay. So as I've asked you now, next heading which you'll put is arrangement of law. No. Rajkumar saying that is the same procedure being followed in dictatorship and all. No, beta. This is about democracy I'm talking about. Acha, you didn't ask me one question. I'm surprised actually. See, we are saying that it has to be taken to parliament, president should be signing. So that means it's a post-independence era we are talking about. Or after India became republic are we talking about? Then what about those laws which were made before that? So please understand, before that also we had a parliament set up by Britishers. There also we had a queen who used to sign. So maybe the post, maybe the position have changed, but the system, the process remains the same. Slight modification. But then in democracy, this is what is being done. Okay. Yeah. So because we will be reading Indian Contract Act 1872. Immediately you'll ask a question. 1872, that means before republic, before independence. So how is it that it was made? Same way it was made, except for few changes. Okay. Right, sir. Good. Chaliye, let's talk about arrangement of law. Now, before going into arrangement, why are we talking about arrangement of law? Do you really think arrangement is important? Do you think law should be arranged properly? Law should be written properly? Of course, yes. My dear friends, anything, if arranged properly, will make more sense. Correct? Let's say we are in a face-to-face class. I am facing you, but you are facing the other side. Right? Someone is facing left hand side, someone is facing right hand side, some bench is this side, some bench is that side. Do you think it will help us? No. So we have to make sure that setup is properly arranged, and that's where you can follow and you can learn effectively. So anything, let it be the kitchen of your mom, right? Kitchen of your house. If it's not arranged properly, the things are not arranged properly, don't you think you get upset? Early morning you'll shout, Mom, where is my tie? Where is my belt? Where is my socks? Where is my shoe? That means you want the full house, not just the kitchen, full house to be arranged properly. It will create a lot of inconvenience otherwise. Same way, if someone has to refer law, someone has to read law, someone has to give a reference of law somewhere, it should be properly arranged, right? So that's what we're discussing in general, that how is a law arranged? How is a particular law arranged? Is it that they just write without page numbers, without any numbering, without any paragraphs and all? No, correct? So one has to understand how is it that they arrange it. So my dear friends, please understand, the first thing which they have to write after the title of the law, right? The name of the law is preamble. Is what? Preamble. What's preamble? Preamble is nothing but objective in short. So after the title, okay, the title means what? The name of the law. You'll find there is preamble. Preamble Preamble means what? Objective in short. That's written there. And then after that, the whole of the law is divided into some parts or chapters, right? Like whole of your book will be divided into chapters, topics, no? Any book you take, social, math, science, economics, commerce, whatever, you see the textbook reader, you will find that the author is dividing it into chapters, units and all, no? Same way, in law also we'll have some parts or chapters. Sometimes parts and chapters both, okay? Chapters there will be there, and in chapters we might have parts, or parts will be there, in parts we might have chapters, right? So after preamble, you will find chapters or parts, or chapters and parts. And in those chapters and parts, what are we going to have? Sections. What are we going to have? Sections. Okay. Next, after sections, we may have subsections. What will we have? Subsections. Then we may also have clauses, subclauses, proviso, subproviso, explanation. Getting it? So you're going too fast, sir. We're not able to catch you. Okay, so that's where the slide before you. Preamble, as I've told you, the first thing after the title. Of course, title will be there. After that, preamble. What is preamble? Objective in short. Next, parts. Then we have also chapters. Or first we may have chapters, then parts. Okay, some acts will have first chapters, then parts. Some acts will have first parts and then chapters. Some acts will have both. That also is a possibility. Okay, so don't bother about such things. Generally, I'm discussing this is what is the way they arrange. Then sections will be there in those chapters or parts. Subsections will be there. Clauses may be there. Subclauses may be there. Proviso may be there. Okay, proviso may be there. Subproviso may be there. Subproviso may be there. Explanation also can be there. Explanation can also be there. Right? So you'll say, sir, how do we identify? How do they denote? Will they say part? They may say part. They will say part, and they'll indicate it by numbers. Roman number 1, Roman number 2. Okay, that two capital ones, not the smaller ones. If you just observe, I've written it for your reference. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 3A, 4A, like that also we may have. Okay, so parts will be denoted by Roman numbers, that to the capital ones. Okay, then comes chapters, that is also denoted by the same way. So chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3, chapter 4, chapter 4A, 4B, like that you might have. Okay, then sections. Sections, they use the normal number. They use the normal number 1, 2, 3, 4, like that. And sometimes we may have 4A, 4B, 4C, 5A, 5B also. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4A, 4B, then 5. It's not necessary if there is 4B, that means 4C also should be there. No. 4A, 4B, then 5 might be there, then 6, 7, 7A, 7B, 7C, then 8. Like that, you may have some alphanumeric sections also. Alphanumeric parts, alphanumeric chapters might be there, or alphanumeric, because it's a combination of alphabet and number. So that's where I'm saying alphanumeric. Okay, so sections might be denoted with a normal number, maybe sometimes combined with alphabet. Then we also have got subsections, which is denoted the same way as section, but the difference is it will be put in brackets. It will be put in brackets. Please understand. It will be put in brackets. Okay. Then coming to clauses, small alphabets they can use within brackets. As you could see, A, small a, and then that too within brackets. B, AA, like that they may use. Or there is a possibility they may use smaller Roman numbers, small Roman numbers within brackets. Small Roman numbers within brackets. You can see on the screen as well. Then subclause. Suppose they've used small alphabets for clauses. Then for subclause they will use smaller Roman numbers. I hope you are able to follow. I repeat again. Suppose they've used small alphabets for clauses. Then what will they use for subclause? Smaller Roman numbers within brackets, of course. And if you say they're using small Roman numbers for clauses, then they will use small alphabets within bracket for subclauses. Okay, so it goes cross, huh? Then proviso. So sir, what is a proviso? First of all, proviso means an exception. Proviso means a special case. Proviso means what? An exception. Proviso means an exception, or maybe you can say a special case. So they will list down special cases also, okay, an exception as well. And how will we identify that? With the help of the words provided that. We have a prefix, okay, we have a prefix, provided that. Like before my name you could see a prefix CA, so you're able to understand, okay, he's a chartered accountant, that's why I've written CA Gautam Jain. Right, the same way you'll find DR, so you'll understand, okay, doctor, ER, engineer, right? We have some prefixes. Same way for exceptions, for provisos, you will find they will be identifying it, or they'll be referring it as what, with a prefix, okay, they will be helping us to refer it as proviso with the help of the word provided that. So if the words provided that is written before a sentence, that means it's a proviso, that means it's an exception, okay. Then sub proviso means further exception. How will we identify? Further provided that. So they'll use this prefix, further provided that. Sir, again there's an exception, then they'll write also provided that. So don't worry on those things, okay. Yeah, so provided that is the word. So there's no numbering for provisos, rather there is some prefix used. Okay sir, what about explanation? Explanation, they may number it as explanation 1, 2, okay, or I mean that to Roman number, or normal number, explanation 1, normal number they can use. So this is how they can use the what do you say, numbers for explanation. Acha, okay sir, fine, we are having some questions. Yeah, even I am having, so please wait, I will ask you first. But before that, please understand one thing. I hope you are noting down simultaneously, correct? So please do that, and also keep thinking about what I am asking or saying. Right sir. Sir, whatever we write in law, what is it called as? Whatever is written in law, whether it is a section, whether it is a subsection, whether it is a proviso, whatever, anything which is written in a law is called as what? Anything written in law is called as what? The answer is provision. The answer is what? Provision. Yesterday also I was saying we'll be reading relevant provisions. Okay, so provision means nothing but a chapter, a section, subsection, subclause, anything. In short, I can say anything written in law is called as a provision. I'm not saying proviso. Proviso is also a provision. Okay, anything written in law is called as a provision. A section is a provision, subsection is also a provision, proviso is also a provision. Okay, sir. Sir, so can we say all provisos are provisions? All provisos are provisions, sub provisos are also provisions, but every provision is not a proviso. Every provision is not a proviso. Yes, of course. And that's what I've written in the note. If you just read the note given below that explanation, what did I write there? All provisos are provisions, but all provisions are not necessarily provisos. Correct? All provisos are provisions, but all provisions are not provisos, boss. All provisions you can't say simply will be provisos. Do you think there will be a law where there will be only exceptions? Array, for exception, first of all, you should have some general thing also. Correct? For some special case, you should have first ordinary case also. Correct? No. So that's where I have written that particular note. Okay, sir. We are able to understand. But I want to ask some questions, I said. So please answer them. Okay. Is it compulsory that every law will have subsections, clauses, subclauses? Huh? Come on, you have to answer now. Let's make it interactive. So don't just watch this, but please reply as well. Is it that law will compulsorily have subsections, clauses, subclauses? Is it that every law? Oh my God. Good, very good. You're very quick. Fantastic. So people are saying no. You're absolutely correct. It's not a compulsion. But every law will have sections for sure. Okay, every law may not have chapters, parts. Okay, meaning both will not be there. Sometimes chapters will be there only, or there will be parts. It's not compulsion that both they'll have. Sections is mandatory. Subsections, clauses and all is not mandatory. They may have, they may not have. Acha. What about explanation? Do you think it's compulsory that every section will have an explanation? Every chapter will have an explanation? Huh? What do you think? Or is it that because I have numbered it as 10th, so explanation is always there only with sub proviso? The answer is no. The answer is no. No. You're saying yes, no, wrong. Okay. Acha, you answered for the previous one. Okay, okay, good, good, good. Okay, right. My mistake. I'm sorry. My apologies. Right. So those who are saying no for explanation may not be there always, you're absolutely correct. So explanation, let me repeat, explanation is not there just for sub proviso. Just because I have numbered it as 10, don't think explanation is there only for sub proviso. Explanation can be there for chapter, explanation can be there for part, explanation can be there for a section, for who knows subsection, or for who knows only a clause. That's quite possible. Okay. Right, sir. Okay. Now, you will have to read this out. Okay, read it yourself and just think, then I'll help you understand. Okay, see, this 4 which is written here is a section, This 1 which is written in brackets is a subsection, is what? A subsection. So section 4, subsection 1, and then this is the clause A, and then this is subclause 4. This is what? Subclause 4. Are you able to understand? So section, subsection, clause, subclause. Are you getting it? Sir, what about chapters, parts? For that, Roman numbers will be used. So this is chapter 1 or part 1, who knows? Correct? Okay, next. My next question. Hope I'm clear with this. How will we read this? 4a and then within brackets some number 2. Okay. This is section 4a and this is subsection 2. This is subsection 2. Understand, my dear friends? Section 4a, subsection 2. This is how we read. Okay, great. Now, let's say in a particular act, there is section 1, there is section 2, there is section 3, then there is section 4, then 4a, 4b, 5, and then so on. Let's say like there are 100 sections in that act, in that law. So the question comes, why is it that, or first of all, is it compulsory that they should have section 4a, 4b? Of course no, correct? Of course no. It's not a compulsion to have alphanumeric sections. Okay. Sir, then why did they insert like this? 1, 2, 3, 4, 4a, 4b, 5. They could have numbered, let's say, they could have numbered this 4a as 5, this 4b as 6, and this 5 as 7. There was a possibility, no? So my question is now, why is it that they are numbering it as 4a, 4b? Is it that their favorite? No. Please understand, what happens is, when they originally made that law, it was numbered as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, like that till 100. And later on, they noticed, or later on they wanted to bring in some amendment. Later on they wanted to bring in some amendment in the law, and that amendment they wanted to insert after 4 and before 5. Are you getting it? Originally when they made the law, they numbered it as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, like 100 till 100. Okay, but later on when they understood that there is some amendment required in this law, and that too, that amendment, that change should come after section 4 and before section 5, they had to give some number, right? So that's where they have gone for section 4a, section 4b. So my dear friends, kindly note, every alphanumeric sections, every alphanumeric subsections, every alphanumeric chapter or parts denote amendments. Denote what? Amendments. Whenever you come across chapter 1a, that means this is an amendment. So they had earlier chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3, chapter 4, but when they wanted to bring in amendment after chapter 1 and before chapter 2, they had no other option but to number it as 1a. Able to follow? So alphanumeric denotes amendment, whether it is alphanumeric section, parts, chapter, subsection, whatever. Okay, my dear friends? Right. Now, I have few questions more on this, which we will take up tomorrow after revising. Okay, so when we meet in our next session, that is tomorrow, we will be first taking up what? Revision, recap. So we'll revise all this which we have discussed today, and once we do that, then we are going to take up more questions on this part. Okay guys, so till then, keep studying, keep your focus on, take good care of yourself, and see you all tomorrow. Thank you so much. God bless you all. Bye bye.